This restaurant serves the best hot jollof rice in the city, to the point that people couldn't get enough of it. But then, something strange, or rather, what no one had expected, started happening. As the sun went down in a small city, every corner was washed clean by the heavy rain that had fallen earlier that day. The weather was very cold, and the bustling city was full of men and women who craved Iyabiodun's hot, spicy jollof rice and pepper soup. They stood in line under a shelter in front of her restaurant. The restaurant was located in a part of the city called the VIP City Gate, where most food sellers ran their businesses. If you wanted to eat a nice meal, that was the best place to go. Iyabiodun and her husband, Ade, ran the business together. The aroma of their food was unmistakable once you crossed the city gate. Compared to the other food sellers, theirs was tastier and surprisingly the cheapest you could find. Iyabiodun got her wonderful cooking skills from her mother. Her mother was a well-known cook in their hometown, always invited to prepare meals for meetings and special gatherings. Her cooking skills were highly praised by everyone. She was very particular about every ingredient she used and had different cooking styles that always turned out delicious. She often called her daughter Biodun to watch her anytime she was about to start cooking. "This might help you someday," she would say, "and if you follow my steps carefully, you might even do better than me." Biodun would watch her mother closely, excited to learn as she stirred the food. However, she disliked washing dishes after cooking or sweeping and keeping the kitchen tidy. Her mother would always remind her to clean up, but Biodun often wasted time, either lying down or promising to do it later, leaving her mother to come back and clean up the mess. Her mother warned her not to carry these habits into adulthood, especially when running a food business. But Biodun would always protest, saying, "I have learned what truly matters, the taste of the food and its wonderful aroma. The place can be kept tidy later." Some years later, Biodun got married to Ade. Ade used to run a small store where he repaired electrical items, but the business was not sustainable. So he and Biodun decided to start a food business. They gathered their little savings and opened a small food store. Soon, their food became the talk of the town. The place quickly became too small to accommodate their growing number of customers. Seeing the need for expansion, they moved their business to VIP City Gate, where there was enough space to serve everyone who craved their delicious meals. Before the sun rose in the sky, Biodun would go to the restaurant and begin cooking. From the pots and plates used the previous day, she would only pick the ones she needed, wash them, and leave the rest piled up in the sink. The kitchen remained littered and untidy, with dirty plates, pots, and bowls scattered everywhere. To avoid the stress of constant washing, she had bought a large number of plates and cooking utensils. This way, whenever she finished using one, she simply set it aside and grabbed a clean one, leaving the used ones to pile up. The restaurant's entrance, where customers sat, was always spotless and well maintained. However, stepping into the kitchen was a different story. Days-old dirty dishes remained untouched, attracting flies and giving off a foul smell. Her husband usually arrived later, once she was done cooking, to serve the customers. He never complained about the state of the kitchen. Like Biodun, he was only concerned with the fact that they were making lots of money. As the business grew, Biodun became even less concerned about cleanliness. She only focused on the taste of her meals. Whenever she stood and looked at the state of her kitchen, she would smirk and say, "No one comes into my kitchen, and what they don't know won't kill them. As long as I cook the food, the germs will die." She would smile to herself, feeling very satisfied with her logic. While cooking, if she needed to stir the pot, but the utensils were out of her reach, she would simply grab a spoon she had used days ago, wipe it with a tissue, even if it had maggots on it, and continued staring. As the heat of the kitchen made her sweat, she would wipe her face with the same tissue and fling it carelessly, sometimes letting bits of the sweat fall into the food. If she felt an itch around her armpit or head, she would scratch it with a cooking spoon and continue staring without a second thought. Many customers arrived early, eagerly waiting even before the food was fully ready. As Biodun and her husband moved from table to table, the rich aroma of the meals filled the air, making the customers even more impatient to receive their plates and dig in. Every day, new customers flocked to her shop as words continued to spread that her food was the best in town. People simply couldn't get enough of it. Yeah, Biodun, any day I don't eat your food, it feels like I've missed something. My day is never complete without it, one customer exclaimed, savoring a plate of hot jollof rice. I'm always too busy with work and can't cook every day for my child. Your food is truly a lifesaver, joked another woman as she ordered a takeaway pack of jollof rice and chicken for her child, who had just returned from school. Over time, many people stopped cooking in their homes because eating at Iyabiodun's restaurants was cheaper. With the economy hitting hard, her food was not only affordable but also delicious, and they had nothing to worry about. Some customers even bought takeaway packs to eat later at home. But then, something strange, or rather something serious, began to happen. After a few months, many people and families started falling sick. They suffered from severe diarrhea, stomach upset, and some even vomited while experiencing cramps at the same time. Hospital visits became more frequent. As this continued, customers at Iyabiodun's restaurant started discussing the sudden outbreak of illness. Many complained about the wave of sickness affecting people in the city. Some mentioned that their doctors had told them it was most likely due to improper hygiene. Ade, Biodun's husband, overheard this conversation and went inside to tell his wife. But she simply smiled and said, "It can never be from us. As long as the food is cooked, nothing can happen." Ade immediately agreed with her, dismissing any further concerns. Not long after, the demand at the restaurant became overwhelming. To keep up with the growing number of customers, Iyabiodun and Ade decided to hire a kitchen assistant, a young girl named Funke. She was employed as Iyabiodun's helper. Very early in the morning, before 6:30 a.m., Funke would arrive at the restaurant, arrange the tables, and wait for Ade to come in. By then, customers were already seated, eagerly waiting for their food. Some were in a hurry to eat and head to work. Funke was never allowed to help in the kitchen. Her only role was to stay at the counter and receive customers' orders. One afternoon, as the restaurant bustled with customers as usual, a woman walked in with her daughter, whom she had just picked up from school. As they sat down to eat, she complained about her daughter's health. "My daughter has been sick," she said, shaking her head. "I think it's from the suya I bought from Megida at the junction." But after they finished eating at the restaurant and got home, something worse happened. The little girl's stomach began to swell painfully. Panicked, the woman rushed to the hospital where the doctor diagnosed her with food poisoning. "The food was not properly prepared," the doctor explained. "This could be due to poor hygiene." The doctor then asked if she had eaten somewhere recently, and the woman admitted, "Yes, we usually eat at the VIP city gate." The next morning, filled with rage, the woman stormed into Iyabiodun's restaurant, yelling, "Your food is not good. My daughter almost died." The entire restaurant fell silent. Customers paused from eating their food, stunned by the accusation. Then, suddenly, a man stood up and scoffed. "You are just a jealous woman trying to ruin her business," he shouted. "This is the best and cheapest food in the city." Others quickly joined in, disagreeing with the woman and defending Iyabiodun. Meanwhile, Iyabiodun stood silently watching as her customers fought in her favor. She then turned and walked into her kitchen, muttering under her breath. Now you know where you go chop o, no be my restaurant. You won't spoil market for me. But see as God dey work now. Now people dey defend me. She smiled to herself and said, "It's not my food at all." Her customers continued to sing her praises after the incident at the restaurant. However, it was only a matter of time before they discovered the truth about Iyabiodun's unhealthy cooking habits. It was a very cold morning in the busy streets of the small city. Funke woke up early, prepared for work, and decided to head to the restaurant earlier than usual. When she arrived, Iyabiodun had just gotten there as well. She was already in the kitchen, busy unpacking and arranging the items she had bought from the market the previous day, preparing to start cooking. Unaware that Funke had arrived, Iyabiodun focused on her work. Funke, who had never questioned why she wasn't allowed into the kitchen, suddenly became curious. Today, for some reason, she felt an urge to take a peek inside. Unfortunately for Iyabiodun, she had forgotten to close the door in her rush to begin cooking. She had a variety of meals to prepare that day. Out of curiosity, Funke walked quietly towards the door. As she got closer, she heard the buzzing sound of flies and clattering of plates. When she finally looked inside, what she saw was unbelievable. Her eyes widened in shock. The entire kitchen was a mess, littered with dirty plates, leftover food, and bowls filled with stagnant, murky water. Flies hovered everywhere. She watched as Iyabiodun carelessly shifted the dirty plates around, searching for a pot and a spoon to use. Funke's gaze moved to the other side of the kitchen, where a pile of unused cooking utensils sat. But even those were not spared. Flies were all over them. Funke was shocked. She couldn't believe she had been working in a place like this. How can someone be this dirty and still cook for people? She wondered. She had been serving customers food from this kitchen without knowing how bad things were. The thought made her feel sick. As she stood there, Iyabiodun started cooking. Funke, still watching from the door, saw things that almost made her throw up. As Iyabiodun cooked, she sweated a lot. Funke saw her wipe the sweat from her face, and some of it dropped into the pot of the jollof rice. Then, something even worse happened. Iyabiodun used the same spoon she had just used to scratch her armpit to stir the food. Ah! So this is why people have been falling sick. Funke whispered, her heart racing. She quickly moved away from the door. She couldn't watch anymore, but she knew she had to do something. She needed proof. She also needed to confront her madam, even if it meant losing her job. Iyabiodun had to answer for what she was doing to people. As usual that day, Iyabiodun brought out the food to the counter, where Ade and Funke served the waiting customers. But today, Funke felt worse than ever. She couldn't shake off the guilt. She was part of the team, serving unhealthy food to innocent people. The next day, she arrived at work early again, but this time, she came prepared. She brought her phone. She needed proof. If Iyabiodun or her husband Ade ever tried to deny it, she would have evidence. When she arrived, she saw Iyabiodun doing her usual routine. Quietly, Funke took pictures of the dirty kitchen, the scattered plates, the flies buzzing around, and the way Iyabiodun carelessly handled the food. Once she had enough evidence, she went back to her duty post. As the day went on, Funke knew she couldn't stay silent any longer. When things were winding down, she called Iyabiodun aside to confront her. "Madam, I never enter your kitchen because you no allow me. But I see things were not good. I fit help you clean up oh." But instead of listening, Iyabiodun's face twisted in anger. "Whoa, you be my worker. I pay you. How dare you sneak up on me, eh? If I no employ you, you go fit talk this rubbish. You think you can teach me how to run my business, abi?" She snapped. All these small girls of today. Funke opened her mouth to explain, but Iyabiodun wasn't interested. "Get out of my restaurant. You're fired. Don't ever step foot here again." Funke had no choice but to leave. As she walked home that evening, her emotions were mixed. She had lost her job simply for confronting the truth and offering to help. But one thing gave her peace. At least she had spoken up. And now she had proof. 3 days later, Funke couldn't keep silent any longer. She knew people had to be aware of the truth. She decided to confide in her neighbor, a well-known social media influencer and blogger with thousands of followers. When her neighbor saw the pictures, she screamed in shock. What? I eat at Iyabiodo's restaurant too now, she exclaimed, horrified. Without wasting time, she took the pictures and posted them online, writing, I don't mean to destroy Iyabiodo's business, but this is serious. People's health is at risk, and she needs to be held accountable for her actions. As soon as her followers saw the post, it spread like wildfire. Within minutes, people were sharing it across all platforms. Then something unexpected happened. Customers who were currently eating in Iyabiodo's restaurant saw the news on their phones. One by one, they stopped eating. Their faces filled with disgust. Some pushed their plates away, while others stood up and left immediately. Ade was the first to see the news before Iyabiodun. His hands trembled as he rushed to his wife. Iyabiodun, we are finished. Oh, our business is over, he said in panic. Iyabiodun sat down in shock, her heart pounding. Funke, Funke, this girl has ruined me, she whispered, gripping her head. Moments later, an angry crowd gathered outside the restaurant. Men and women shouted, demanding to know if the allegations were true. Ade stood by his wife, speechless. He turned to her and said, you have to face them. Just go out and talk to them. Tears streamed down her Iyabiodun's face. She knew there was no way out. The images had captured everything. Taking a deep breath, she stepped outside. The crowd fell silent. All eyes were on her. Some still hoped it wasn't true. Others stared at her with pure anger. Finally, she spoke. I know you all are angry. What you saw is true, and I am deeply sorry for everything I have done. A wave of murmurs spread through the gathering. I thought the taste and richness of the food were all that mattered. She continued, her voice breaking. But now, I see my mistake. Tears glistened in her eyes as she spoke. Some people in the crowd softened at her words, but not everyone was moved. A woman pointed at her angrily. No wonder your apron is always dirty. You are heartless. Sorry won't fix this at all. Another man spoke up. She has admitted her faults. Maybe we should pardon her. The crowd stood divided. Some were willing to forgive, while others remained furious. But one thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. Iyabiodun's husband stepped out of the restaurant, held his wife, and addressed the angry crowd. You are right. Sorry can't fix this, but we promise to change and do better. We will leave this place, work on ourselves, and come back improved, he said. With that, they both went inside. Their heads were bowed low in shame. For days, Iyabiodun's restaurant remained closed. The evidence of her unhygienic practices left the entire city in stunned silence. Passerbys would stop, shake their heads in regret, and whisper amongst themselves, still unable to believe they had eaten from that place. The incident sparked a shift in the community. Customers became more conscious of hygiene, questioning how other restaurants prepared their meals. Many began inspecting the cleanliness of eateries before deciding where to eat. Over time, the uproar surrounding Iyabiodun's restaurant slowly died down. People spoke less about it as they moved on with their daily lives. As for Iyabiodun and her husband, they stayed at home, reflecting on the wreckage caused by their poor decisions. The once thriving business was gone, and they were left with nothing but regrets. Unable to bear staying in the city any longer, Iyabiodun traveled back to her hometown to see her mother. She poured out her heart, explaining everything that had happened. Her mother listened in sadness, then gently told her, "This is not the time for blame. What matters is that you've learned from it. Now you must improve on yourself. She advised Iyabiodun to enroll in a culinary class for a few months if she truly wanted to return to the business. Taking her mother's advice to heart, Iyabiodun signed up for the classes. At first, it was difficult, adjusting to new methods, following strict hygiene rules, and learning techniques she had never paid attention to. But with time, she embraced the lessons, realizing how much they would help her in the future. A few months later, far from the city gates, Iyabiodun and her husband opened a new restaurant, but this time, everything was different. Cleanliness was the first rule, and the place was properly organized. She carefully selected her staff, ensuring that hygiene was strictly observed in every aspect of food preparation. Each day, as she watched her team work in a spotless kitchen, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had learned the hard way, but she had grown from it. Now she understood that when it comes to food and people's health, accountability is everything. As customers enjoyed their meals in the fresh, inviting space, laughter and conversation filled the air. This time, Iyabiodun smiled, not just because of her food was loved, but because she knew she was serving it the right way. If you love the story, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. You can also watch the other stories displayed on the screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on my next one.